Thank you, Mr. Makubela. We truly appreciate your insight and your contributions from yesterday as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without wasting any more time, we do have 20 minutes for the next panel discussion, 20 to 30 minutes just before lunch. We're going through the skills development for the SMME sector panel discussion. May I please call Mr. Elvis Skylelo, who's the founder and executive director for Ekasi Entrepreneurship Movement, to come and join us on stage. Can I please call Mr. Sanele Zulu, the managing director for Tosaka Media Group. May I then call Tukulo Petle, the Commodore, who is the managing director at Christopher Africa. Can I then call Usigelelwa Ndwai, who is the manager for transformation strategy and stakeholder engagement at Astron Energy. And then I will also call Mr. Abide Ngube, who is the managing director at Sky Vantage. Okay, sure. So I heard they are roaming around, some of these panelists who have meetings and have to go, but they are not here. So I did see Mr. Zulu. He is somewhere. Beverly, if you are anywhere, or Robert, please can you coordinate our panelists? But in the meantime, for the sake of time, welcome to the both of you. And thank you very much for joining us. So what we'll do is I'll just allow you maybe 2 minutes for an opening statement, who you are, what the company's about, and also your contribution to skills development for SMME sectors in terms of your business and the project that you're doing. Thank you. So you can switch on the mic that is at the table, yeah, right there. Okay, we can start with you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is that better? Yeah. Good evening, not good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am a bit nervous, so hence the shakiness in my voice, but please bear with me. I am Sikelelwa Ndwai. I am the manager for transformation strategy and stakeholder engagement at Astron Energy. I am one of the few blessed people whereby my job is actually what I live and breathe to do. I consider myself a stakeholder manager with some aspects in transformation, because I wake up in the morning and I go to work and I know that the way that I find the world today is actually far different from how I'm going to leave it at the end of the day. And when I say stakeholder engagement, I'm talking about the balanced scorecard that we know as BEE, which is through Astron Energy, we get to touch the hearts of our communities through socio-economic development and enterprise and supplier development. We then liaise with vendors, contractors, small, medium enterprises who are within our supply chain and externally to grow our business. And we also get to touch the hearts and minds of the employed and unemployed people through skills development and ensure that our employees actually grow within the business, whether it is from junior management to a senior managerial role, and also get to take part in terms of our board, or they actually own a part of the company directly or indirectly. And just a few highlights of why I have the most fantastic job. At Astron Energy, we spend in excess of 50 million per year on skills development alone. And when we're talking about the enterprise development and the supplier development budget, we're talking in excess of 100 million. And when it comes to touching our communities through socio-economic development, we're talking in excess of at least 10 million. So that's a lot of lives that we get to touch. And transformation for Astron Energy is going beyond the scorecard. It is fueling the brighter future through stakeholder engagement. Thank you.
Okay. Elvis? Yes, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Elvis Sekawalelo. I'm a rural boy from Limpopo in Polokwane. When I started the company called Ekasi Entrepreneurs, actually it happened by mistake. I think the biggest thing what happened was that I was a bit privileged. I went to some of the best schools in South Africa, and we get to realize that we actually have left people behind in the townships, in the rural villages where we come from. I think most of us actually do come from the rural Bundu areas, but we get to a point where a lot of the township and rural area people are not given the necessary resources and information and opportunities that they actually need and deserve for them to be able to either succeed in life through a career development or through some sort of a business development that they actually want to be able to run. And when it started, it was 5 years ago. We currently have grown to a point where we have about 150 area partners, which area partners are called the entrepreneurship development organizations in different townships. So if you go to each and every township, you'll find that there's some sort of a development organization that's happening. So our duty is to be able to look at how do we capacitate those those organizations to make sure that they better support the township entrepreneurs on the ground. And through those organizations, they have access to about 500,000 informal and formal entrepreneurs on the ground. So essentially for me, my contribution to look at, I think a lot of urban entrepreneurs that are overtrained, are over-supported, are indulged with quite a lot of things and a lot of opportunities. And we never actually get to take these opportunities to the township. A lot of people don't even know some of the townships like the Leandras of this world, the Mdanzanis in the Eastern Cape, the Seshiros in Polokwane. And that's where you actually find quite a lot of innovative businesses that are actually are running there. So I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, because there's a notion that township entrepreneurs are not necessarily worthy of being able to grow to a national and international level, as well as being able to be supported for them to be able to create jobs. One of the guys that are actually going through our programs called the Gasopreneur program, where entrepreneurs come through and they actually pitch and they get to be selected to be able to be assisted with regards to access to markets, training, development, and mentorship. The guy, when he started, this was last year, June, he was making a profit of about 15 to 20,000 rand. So he ran what we call Kasi and Partners. So they run a project management where they connect artisans. He started in Seshangube with people that are actually looking for artisans in the construction businesses. He's currently making a revenue, a turnover of about 500,000 rand a month alone. And it is through the support that we're able to give him to make sure that he is able to succeed. But the reality is that those entrepreneurs, there are actually quite a lot of them across South Africa. And a lot of corporates actually only support the people in the urban area. And for me, it's about to say, how can we challenge the corporate to ensure that they go into the township and they actually change their mindset in who they need to actually support and train and develop going further.
Sure. Thank you very much, Elvis. Okay, Sanele Zulu and Abide Mube, welcome. Thank you for choosing to join us.
Thank you so much.
But I think, Sanele, for your punishment, I'll allow Abide to go first, because he was the first latecomer, you were the second. So, Abide, maybe you can just introduce yourself and your organization and your contribution to skills development, or rather your thoughts around that for the SMME sector.
All right. Good afternoon, delegates.
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah.
No, don't worry.
Just by a show of hands, how many of us have cell phones? Just by a show of hands, all right? How many of us have ever owned a 3310, 3210, 5110? All right, a lot
now
of us.
Now he's talking, ne?
Now, question is, what do we do with them once they become redundant? Yeah, ne? They're sitting at home somewhere, right? Okay. Just to bring stats, a couple of stats. We generate close to 49 million tons of electronic waste on a per annum basis. We only recycle 20%. Question is, where does it go? Where is this electronic waste? If we all decide to chuck it out, we are going to have a big, big problem. We live in interesting times. AI is reality. VR is here. It's all exciting, but no one ever speaks of the sustainability of our economy. No one ever speaks of being accountable for electronic waste. No one here is going to drink mercury. But are you aware that electronic waste consists of a lot of chemicals that have contaminated chemicals? So basically, my name is Abide, and we basically manage electronic waste. With that being said, we also attempt to extract value from your electronic waste. So electronic waste has gold, but it takes a lot of money to get that gold. Currently, we consume close to 300,000 tons of electronic waste in South Africa alone. We ship out and only manage 11%, meaning that there are lost opportunities. We're shipping out jobs. Our aim, our drive is just to increase that 11% to just about, let's say 25%. How many more jobs can we create? A lot. And that is where we see opportunity for skills development within the townships where they are actually needed. So we do have a drive in Gauteng to actually get this kick-started. There is a project in Pretoria, Garankuwa. There's a project in Sebokeng. However, there are two problems. We need people who can assist us to upskill. We need access to electronic waste, which we all have in the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Zulu.
Thank you so much. So my name is Sanele, surname is Zulu. I'm from an organization called Tosaka Media Group. But under the group, we run a program called the Green Youth Network, which basically focuses on inculcating or making aware, or rather creating awareness to young entrepreneurs about the green economy and the opportunities within the green economy. You would all be aware that climate change is a reality, even though Donald Trump does not think so. And for us, what's critical is to figure out how do we get young people participating within the green economy. How do we get young people skilled in the green economy? And then we also run a campaign that's received quite a great impact in terms of young people, where we call it the Green Innovators Pitch. We go around the country recruiting young people that have got green ideas or green businesses, whether in agriculture, whether in water. And you know, water is one of the things that, that is scarce. And we also go to rural areas as well, looking for these young people who've got those kind of ideas. Then we basically work with quite a number of departments or state-owned entities in terms of either training these guys or also then helping them with their prototypes. One of the things that we've figured out is that over the years, we've been doing this I think for the past 7 years, over the years we've learned that many of these entrepreneurs would say they're not looking for money. If they do get money, it's good, but what they're really looking for is mentorship and training. Therefore, we are basically then training them. I think currently we've been to about 4 provinces. Next week would be in Durban. And then in Durban, these are young guys, either at varsity, where they've done some research, where they've written some papers. We're basically trying to help them to say, how can they then find some mentors who can help them with their business ideas or with their businesses, and how can we actually help them or train them. Yesterday we were in Bloemfontein, and also in the Free State, we've got some young, great guys that have come up with innovative ideas, and they've said that money is good, but that's not really what they're looking for. And we learned that from experience, because over the years, some of the entrepreneurs would win cash prizes, and they would not know what to do with the money. And therefore, our advice to entrepreneurs, or even in our program, is to say, rather have the plan without the money than money without a plan, because then they don't know what to do with the money, and really they get confused. But so our job is to actually get them ready, that if they do find funding, if they do get someone to invest in their businesses, by the time they come through, then they would have had some form of training, some form of mentorship. So if you're ever looking for young guys who are in the green space or in the green economy, that are doing amazing work, you can contact us, because that's basically what we do, and we have a pool of them. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Zulu. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so to the panelists, I will just each award you with a question. It is an award because my questions are very special. So I will just give you a question each just to kickstart the conversation. And then I'm only going to take 4 questions from the audience. Please, guys, I'm really asking, let it be a question. I know we have entrepreneurs here that are looking to market themselves. This is why there is lunch and tea breaks for you to network. Yeah, Bona? Yeah. So, if you have a question, please make sure that it's brief, it's short and to the point. Please, guys, I'm really asking you. Okay, I'll start with you, Sigelelo, but you don't have to answer it immediately. Just note it down, and then we'll take some other questions, and then you guys can answer once. To you, what kind of businesses have been empowered under Astron Energy Supply Chain? So you were saying that you've got a particular budget that looks at SMME. So who are these SMMEs? What industries are they in? And how are they doing now, today? Because the aftercare for me is most important. Okay. And then to abide, waste management actually is going to be, or rather is listed in 2030 as one of the most prominent industries that is going to be taking over the market. What are you doing today under waste management that is preparing normal SMMEs or equipping them with these skills? So what is being done in your organization, and what are these skills? If you can just give me, I'm actually looking for practical answers, like, okay, we teach them crafting, we teach them design, we teach them this. So I know as engineers, you guys usually have a system that is step by step and a logical flow to it. So if you can tell me what your program entails and how it's actually developing SMMEs. And then to Elvis, so we see that, yesterday we were discussing the informal economy is, it has a net asset value of 100 billion rands. This 100 billion is 3% of South Africa's current GDP. What does the Kasi guy need to make his business globally competitive? What does he need to get his business or services in Ghana, in the US, etc., etc.? So maybe you can give us a needs analysis that your organization has researched over time, which has then informed the services that you're rendering to them. Cool? All right. Mr. Zulu, looking at the green economy, which is a very interesting economy for me because, one, it has a high level of capital consumption. A lot of the people that enter into the space cannot afford, or they are not patient enough. For example, with cotton farming, for a cotton farm to be thoroughly established, it will take 12 years. My question to you is, do you think the young people that you have mentored and encountered are patient enough to see businesses through? Because today, socially, young people are looking at, let me work, or rather let me rise fast, only to burn out, so that I can be seen in a Benz, or I don't know these cars, what, Mustang, Ford Mustang. These young people like these things. But yeah, do you think we are patient enough to see businesses go through, or see them develop and grow, especially in the green economy? And how are you guys then educating them about the sector, Yes. Okay, I'm going to take 4 questions from the audience. Okay, I recognize you, ma'am. You're number 1. Okay, no, okay. You asked a lot of questions yesterday. So, okay, you'll be number 2, but it's a question. Because I am a devil today. And I am, got some hidden red horns, so please. Okay, you'll be number 3, Byron, and you'll be number 4, sir. Thank you so much. In that particular order, please can you ask your questions?
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Blichnet, and I just want to ask, aren't we sometimes a bit ambitious? I think a lot of the kids out there, they think that they are going to walk into an SME and it's going to be a multi-rand business, when in fact they will have to start small and build up from there. So my question to the panel is, isn't it time that we started in school already to project this reality and encourage students in grade 12 to not just learn, but also to develop the SMEs from there, because they will be in touch with what the requirements are of their schoolmates. And one of the lessons we know from business is that you must make what people want. You must not make what you can make. And that is a reality that needs to be funded right from the start. It must be a fundamental, I suspect. But I would like to hear from the panel if they also agree that we must bring realism into the expectations. Otherwise, there are going to be so many disappointments out there. Thank you.
That's a brilliant question. Sure. Are you targeting to everybody or anyone can answer? All right, so you've all noted, Angithi. Sure. Okay, question number 2. Number 2. Yeah, no, I noted you, Ken. Go ahead.
This is actually to the last gentleman. Businesses don't have the skills to actually run them. And those who have skills don't actually own businesses. What can you do to actually bring them together and actually work for both?
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm proud of you. That was quite brief. Number 3, Byron.
So my question is, from my space, we see a lot of copy-paste sort of solutions when it comes to SMME development. And we don't see people going to the lengths of doing audits on the SMMEs. They don't seem really passionate about what they're doing. It's more about the money. And then also when the investments are coming through from government as well as corporates, it seems like it's also just a thing of having to spend that on the ED, or it's just more of just getting things done. How are we going to unlock the investments as the future leaders within skills development and SME development? And also, what steps are we taking to look at foundational elements before we start, so basically walking before we can run?
Okay, thank you very much for that. Number 4.
Hi. My question really lies around the fact that most startups are survivalists. And you need to be able to get to a stage where you can even feed your family before you talk about.
Where are you? Oh, right there. Okay, yes. Thank you. Sorry.
You need to get to a stage where you can even feed your families before you talk about expansion.
Sure.
Now, the green economy is also very new. What support structures are there to carry people through those first few years to move from being a survivalist to, let's say, an entrepreneur?
That's a deep question, yes. Hit home, because it's very true. Thank you so much for that. Are you addressing it to everyone in the panel? Okay,
yes.
Great. So this is what we're going to do. As you answer your questions, please include your final remarks as well. Thank you. We'll start with you, Sigelelwa.
Thank you. I'll just answer the first question in terms of how, what sort of SMMEs do we work with, and the industries and and how do we choose as well. For Astron Energy, we are quite intentional in terms of who it is that we decide to partner up with and who we do not partner up with. And that speaks to the overall strategy when it comes to transformation, which is it needs to be cost effective and it needs to be competitive. And most importantly, within those pillars, we need to go beyond transformation. We don't just dish out money with no support, with no intent. And at the end of the day, the business of business is profit. However, while chasing profit, it doesn't mean that we can't use our strengths to then partner up with various small, medium enterprises. And when it comes to our beneficiaries, it ranges in terms of industries from petroleum, oil, lubricants, packaging, logistics, brand advertisements. And how we actually do the selection is, if it is for supplier development, it goes without saying that it's suppliers within our supply chain. But for enterprise development, it's suppliers that are not within our supply chain. However, they may be our customers, or they support us to then carry out a strategic business focus. And the sort of support that we actually do for SMMEs is financial support. And remember, when it comes to the BE codes, the support that you do within the small medium enterprise space is either operational or financial. And we are not a finance company, so we do actually partner up with ABSA, and they assist us when it comes to the due diligence of is the company the right fit or is it not. And for you to come into Astron Energy, you would have to have an existing partnership, or you would have to be a new entrant. And as much as we would like to be everything to everyone, cost effectiveness and competitiveness is key. So we do assist, however, we assist companies that already have a track record. At the moment, we are not focusing on survivalists in the market. Maybe in the next future, who knows, should things change. However, at the current moment, enterprise and supply development is seen as an enabler for business, for us to be more competitive, to be more efficient in the way we do things, whether it's interest-free loans, whether it's extended credit terms, whether it is bank guarantees. And the companies and the vendors that we partner up with, just as a disclaimer, they do pay the money back. And we do actually offer them financial support from our partner to make sure that they do use the money to do the right things. They do have the proper processes and controls and governance in terms of ensuring that they are effective.
Sure.
And we measure their success, whether it is through their revenue growth, their profit margins being higher, or even just one job being created.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, Abide, as short as possible, please. Can you just answer the questions and also give us your final remarks with that?
All right. Okay, so what does South Africa look like in 2030 in regards to what we do? So e-waste remains the fastest growing waste economy, meaning that it's going to continually grow and no one is actually managing that particular area. But what we envision is that we would have a process plant that is localized, that trains locally, therein allowing us to not only employ locally but train locally, which is something that is not being implemented at the moment.
Sure.
But that takes time. That takes every one of us here playing a part to get this to actually materialize. Okay, so in regards to the skill side of things, so e-waste is very practical. It is very hands-on. Just by demonstrating, we saw that we all have electronic waste. So a huge component of what we do really focuses on skills such as work-integrated learning. We can take up for 6 months. From TVET colleges, we can take up students for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Years. There are opportunities for repairs and refurbishment in cell phone, computers, laptops, you name it. So it's a very practical and self-sustaining business, but it's just a numbers game. People have to be willing to play and participate, you know. It is also very entrepreneurial driven. We currently are supporting about 3 entrepreneurs who are setting up shop within the southern corridor of Gauteng.
Okay.
Just a couple of things that need to be put in place, but it's looking good so far. All right, so the green economy, I think that also covers the green economy. It is very practical from the e-waste perspective, that is.
Okay.
Yes, so closing remarks, we do have a problem, but it is also an opportunity which we should actually take advantage of. I mean, how many jobs are going to be created? How many entrepreneurs can we spin off? And really, it just takes participation from each and every one of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Elvis.
Thank you. So I'm just going to touch on a couple of questions that were raised. Well, I'll start with your question. The informal sector in the township economy is actually, I think, is underestimated. I think 100 billion is actually very small. And you're looking at only the data that is actually coming from the townships that you know, like your Tembisa, your Soweto, your Kailicha, and all of that, right? So that number is very high. So what do township entrepreneurs actually need for them to be nationally and internationally competitive? I think the biggest part is that a lot of entrepreneurs in the township, they know and understand what they're doing. If you go to a mechanic, he's very good at what they're doing. If you go to a designer, fashion designer, they're good at what they're doing. The one thing that they do not have is the right skills to be able to make sure that they run their businesses and grow it. It's about the social capital that they need to be able to take their business from one point to the other. I mean, we are connected and we can be able to do things, make things happen. But those guys don't have that. So it's a matter of how do we create that platform where they can be able to have that within the organization. The third thing is more about markets. Township entrepreneurs, if they're not exposed, firstly, to what is out there, they never get to realize the market that they can be able to access outside. They never get to realize some of the tools that they can be able to use to be able to ensure that they can be able to sell nationally or internationally. Sure. So it's a matter of how do we now capacitate them and digitalize the township economy to make sure that our township entrepreneurs are able to have those kind of access to markets. So I'm just going to give you one example. When it comes to the involvement of a gas entrepreneur within policy. So one of the entrepreneurs called Susan Zima, I don't know if some of you guys know him. He's based in Cape Town. When I met him, he was a student at the Ramon Academy. I was at the UCT GSB. And when he comes back from school, the grandparents will ask him to actually go to hospital to go collect medication for them. But then also the neighbor also asked him to do that. But the policy in Cape Town, or actually in our hospitals, is that you cannot be able to collect medication for another person. So it was an issue with the hospital. So what we interjected is that we got involved with policy development and also looking at different policies that are infringing on the development of township entrepreneurs. And we had a discussion with the City of Cape Town and the Western Cape Economic Development, and we abolished about 123 policies that were actually infringing on the development of township entrepreneurs. The reality is that a lot of these guys will find that if they come across that hurdle, they actually just stop and actually not able to continue. But us being involved get to make sure that now entrepreneurs actually get to see more opportunity for them to be able to go further. So currently, Susan Zima is operating in three countries, in South Africa, in Kenya, and in Ethiopia, where he's now also even producing self-test kits within the health industry. Okay. Just a couple of questions that I just need to touch on. With regard to education and actually making sure that it gets to be within high school and primary, I think we've gone through 2.5 decades of where we are deprived of quality education. And we only get exposed about entrepreneurship, financial management, and all of those kind of things when you go to varsity or when you actually get to start work. And we never get to be exposed at a young age. And we get to a point where we're entitled to things. And we think that if we start a business, we're supposed to actually succeed within a year or two. Mm-hmm. And if you get to now expose township entrepreneurs and a lot of entrepreneurs about the struggles of what other people have gone through for them to be able to get to where they are, that will be able to now give them an idea of actually what it means to be there. Right. Just a closing remarks. We're running a campaign actually called the Buy Township campaign. And the idea is to say we want to be able to change the mindset of young professionals and the township businesses to say, how do you now make sure that you support township entrepreneurs across South Africa, where we're partnering with 5 media houses to actually showcase these entrepreneurs and their stories of where they come from and where they are and where they're going in all these media platforms. And just one last thing. Someone mentioned about the survivalist and the growth element. I don't remember who. But the reality is that some informal businesses, literally, they just want to be that. There will be a grandmother that is literally by the corner, literally making 50,000 rand a month. And that's what they want to do. They want to just be able to raise their kids and to be able to take them to school. We need not actually force to train people that are actually just comfortable in a specific environment. we need to understand that those people that are willing to be able to grow their businesses and their businesses that actually want to grow, and the people that actually just want to be in there, they don't want to even formalize their business because that's where they're comfortable in. And also the reality of always trying to train everyone. Not everyone is an entrepreneur. Some people actually just need to be trained to go work for someone. And some people actually have the entrepreneurial urge. So we need to not just want to be able to train someone to be an entrepreneur, but sometimes we need to say no to someone when they come through.
Sure. Thank you so much, Elvis. Thank you very much. Mr. Zulu?
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I think I'll be very quick. The first point that I wanted to touch on was that I think because of most people in the room are skills development people. You know, I just noted that, first of all, just because you've got a skill does not mean that you can be an entrepreneur as well. So literally, we must not force people to get into entrepreneurship because not everyone has got the characteristic of an entrepreneur.
Sure.
And by the way, some of us are entrepreneurs because of circumstances, you know, so it's not because that we wanted to be entrepreneurs, so we must also realize that. Second point was that are entrepreneurs patient enough? Will you be patient if you're hungry? When you're waiting for food at a restaurant and you see that it's taking longer, do you become patient? No. You know, but patience for me is something that you can be taught, that it will take time, so be patient. So that's why I think as we train also, let's not train to tick the box. Because many of the trainers, they come up with programs that they know themselves that if I were to join my program, I would not actually be part of this program. And many of these institutions that are out there that are training people, they know for a fact that after you have taught those learners, after you have taught those entrepreneurs, they are not going to find jobs. So why are you even training them? But you're training them because of the bottom line. And I wanted to answer the question about high schools and young people in schools. The truth of the matter for me is that the bottom line for most of the corporates is not high schools. Therefore, they're not going to go there. Most of the corporates as well, or most of the government institutions, they're not looking for ideas. Some of the entrepreneurs we work with, they've got ideas. They need someone who can believe in them. But not everyone is willing to put the money there because they're all thinking about themselves of saying, my bottom line is that people must graduate, they must tick the box, I get my money. What happens after is up to them. The other point is the same as a varsity. I compare SMMEs with varsities to say the biggest challenge, like my brother was talking about survivalist, is that most entrepreneurs struggle with access to market. So you can train them until they blue. And just like how you train people and then they are qualified, but they can't find work. So I'm challenging most of the trainers in this room as well to say, after you have trained someone, help them find work. Because otherwise it does not help to just train them and leave them. And most of us as entrepreneurs, then you are taken into a program, new venture creation. After you graduate, no one can actually help you to find work. So many of the entrepreneurs that we work with, they'll say, Sanele, we're looking for access to market. All of you guys do the same thing. You train us, you mentor us, and then what? So also the passion is quite critical because, guys, as you do what you do, we know you love money. Most of us love money. But as you do what you do, have a heart to say, what will happen to these learners after I've trained them? What will happen to these entrepreneurs after I've told them that you can be an entrepreneur? And for me, it's quite a critical point that he was raising about survivalists. Most of us entrepreneurs, we just live to survive. You know, and it's not nice, by the way. I don't agree with him. He's my friend. I don't agree with him that there's entrepreneurs that just want to survive. No. You know?
Absolutely.
We don't want to survive. One day we want to have a turnover of 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. But lastly, my last point as I end, is to say, as South Africans, let's be conscious that entrepreneurs need our support. If we don't buy from them, if we don't support them, no one will. And that's my last shot. Thank you.
Sure. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, that was the skills development for SMME sector panel. Please give them a round of applause.